consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the Governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Conservation Commission is convening by Google Meet, as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer unless asked by the chairperson or the staff person. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for the effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each board member or staff member who has the lead role for this particular item or guest speaker associated with this item on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members first and then the staff members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions. I will then call upon members to offer a motion, and then for a second, please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Remember that unless a document is being shared, your camera feed is triggered by your speaking or background noise. To mute and unmute your telephone, dial *6. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For others in attendance that are expected to present, please hold until your name is called to present. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Remember that unless a document is being shared, your camera feed is triggered by your speaking or background noise. To mute and unmute your telephone, dial *6. Please remember to speak clearly in ways that help generate accurate minutes. After your presentation, members of the board committee will be given the opportunity to ask questions. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. The chair will first ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. Finally, each vote taken in the meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Brad. Moving on to the first item on the agenda, which is review and approval of minutes. There are none available for approval tonight, so we'll move on to the second item, which is the signing of bills. There may be bills, but we'll sign them at a prearranged time later. And on to the third item, which is meetings and hearings. It has been requested by the petitioners of the first two items on the agenda, namely at 183 Spring Street and 185 Spring Street, to continue the hearing until the next month's meeting, and we will do so. And it brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is a public hearing. And Martha, on 7 Forest Ave, can you read that? Oh, no,
Mr.
this is actually
Chairman,
continued. Yes.
Excuse me, before we read the notice, can we just announce the continuance date for the hearings on those Spring Street ones? And that will be continued to our December 15th meeting agenda.
Okay. And I'm sorry, Martha, you need not read this notice because it's a continued public hearing regarding the notice of intent filed by Michael Perdoni for the construction of a garage for commercial vehicles with upstairs storage and small office area at 7 Forest Ave. Is there a petitioner available to address this matter? Brad, do we have any new submittals with regards to this request?
We received submittals late yesterday, so I did put those on the Google Drive. I haven't looked at them yet, but they are there.
Okay. So I guess we will just continue this hearing, absent any new presentation, until our December, what was that date?
If I might suggest, if sometimes we do have some late attendees, if maybe we just want to go to the next agenda item and see if we do have a representative show up.
Okay, we can do that. Moving on to the next new public hearing, Martha?
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that the town of Shrewsbury, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury, has filed a notice of intent for roadway improvements along Hartford Turnpike, including widening, sidewalk construction, and drainage improvements from 144 to 295 Hartford Turnpike. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, November 17, 2020.
Will that be you, Andrew, representing the town?
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm just here on behalf of the town. We actually have our representatives from VHB in the presentation. We're just here in support, and if there are any questions specific to the town.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
It's Ken Polito. I'm going to recuse myself from this hearing.
Okay. And do we have a VHB representative?
Hi, Dan Canada, environmental scientist at VHB, here with Greg Russell, the project manager and engineer from VHB.
Would you kindly review for us what you're asking here?
Yep. So this is Greg Russell with VHB. Like Dan said, I'm the primary roadway engineer for this project and the task manager. We are working on roadway improvements.
Oh, I've lost you.
There again. Sorry about that. These improvements are associated with the MassWorks grant that was approved, provided to the town of Shrewsbury in conjunction with the Edgemere development at the former Edgemere Drive-In. The intent of these improvements is to both support that development as well as provide improved pedestrian accommodations, traffic operations, and drainage infrastructure between Flint Pond and essentially Purinton Street, which will eventually tie into another project that Mass DOT is working on. As I'm sure you're aware, this is state highway, so the drainage system will eventually be conveyed to the state, and the state will take ownership of the drainage system. However, because it is a town project, the town is the applicant. So, Dan, I don't know if you want to walk through the plans, and do you have the plans up, or do you need me?
Yeah, I can bring them up.
So just broad overview. The intent, Mass DOT's intent is to essentially carry a 4-lane cross section of Route 20 from Worcester all the way through Shrewsbury, Westboro, and continue that 4-lane cross section. So part of this work involves widening to accommodate that 4-lane cross section, starting at the bridge and then moving east. We're actually going to be pretty much to a 5-lane cross section due to turn lanes as well. So as you can see here, most of the widening is on the south side of Route 20. This also involves reconstruction of the Lake Street intersection, which will be the main driveway to the new Edgemere crossing development. The existing drainage system, well, there is no existing drainage system. The existing drainage is country drainage, essentially through this entire stretch. So we're intending to make this a closed drainage system, which will outlet, one portion of it will outlet at the bridge on the south side of Route 20, and the remaining portions of it will outlet into detention basins located on the site, which will then outlet to the existing outlet in the back of the Edgemere Edgemere development. So essentially, we're providing all new deep sump catch basins, throughout this portion. Going up the hill, so you can see here on the left, we have one of the detention basins where the state drainage will be directed into. There's a second one further up the hill on the next sheet. Again, right here. So these two basins will collect the majority of the drainage from the roadway, which will then get discharged out to the back of the site. One thing, and then moving up further up the hill, one thing we are proposing as part of this, in conjunction with the town, is to cul-de-sac Carrington Street, which would eliminate the kind of the cut-through nature of that roadway. That drainage will be moved across Route 20 to the north side to the existing stormwater channel swale that's on that runs along the frontage of the Triborough Crane and Botanist property. One thing I am going to mention is that this was designed to tie into Mass DOT's future project, which runs from essentially this point east through the Grafton Street intersection and up towards the interchange. That project has been, Mass DOT is still working out funding for that project, so that project has been pushed off, and they've directed us to tie in to the existing cross section in this vicinity. So the intent would be to end any widening just to the west of this easterly driveway to the Botanist. So we'll cul-de-sac everything, but the entire drainage in this area on Route 20 will stay as it is currently with the existing head wall. There's a pair of catch basins that discharge to a head wall just on the west side of the driveway. That head wall will remain, as will the catch basins, and the project from a roadway and drainage standpoint will essentially start at this point and move west down the hill. And then if you just want to go to the next sheet there. Oh, sorry, next sheet. So this just kind of gives an overview of the overall site, the Edgemere site, and these pipes are that will end up conveying the water from the detention basins out to the back of the Edgemere site where it currently goes today. This is an existing outlet that's being reused. We're not touching the outlet in the back. We're just tying back into the pipe after it goes through the discharges from these detention basins. So with that, Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about the environmental.
Sure. So the project limits are in the buffer zone associated with Bank at Flint Pond, and also to bordering vegetated wetland along the project limits. We're not proposing any impacts to these resource areas. Additionally, we're proposing erosion and sedimentation controls along the limits of work that'll be maintained throughout construction. Also, no impact to any floodplain associated with Flint Pond or the area around that. And yeah, and we've also detailed other construction erosion and sedimentation control measures that will be really on the contractor to implement, but includes street sweeping and really any prevention of incidental discharge.
So with that, that's the general overview of what this project is. Again, like I mentioned, Mass DOT will be taking over control of the drainage system, both in the road and externally. This development on the south side will be providing permanent drainage easements so that Mass DOT can maintain the detention basins in the front and access the pipe through the site. And we're taking permanent easements. Mass DOT will be the town will be acquiring permanent easements on behalf of the state for the outlet down at the bridge, which will for the state's maintenance purposes. So with that, is there any questions?
Mr. Chair, I have a couple of questions. Bob, I think you might be muted. Bob, you're muted. Bob, did you turn your phone off? It would be *6. Well, if nobody minds, I'll go ahead and ask. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So I have a question about the retention basins in the front of the I think it's the Triborough Crane and the Botanist Building. Were those initially constructed to be able to hold the additional capacity that you're planning for them? I'm just wondering, are they big enough or do they need to be reconstructed?
So the if Dan, if you go up a few sheets here. So this side, the channel that we're tying into, one more sheet up. So the channel that we're tying into is intended to remain, and it actually bypasses that detention basin. It there's a stone channel that runs along the base of the slope that goes into a drop inlet, which then goes underground to another one and then out. We're not intending to really increase the amount of water going into that at this point. That would be, we're essentially maintaining all of the existing structures to the east of that currently go into that that are collected by that drainage. We'll be curbing off the entire area in front of it and collecting all of that and sending it to the south side. So we should be minimizing any additional drainage that goes there. There is the the drainage from Purinton, portions of it technically make it there currently. So it's really only a portion of this bulb that would be added over to that side. So
Okay.
it should be more than adequate to accommodate that.
Okay, thank you. And then the other detention basins, is there an opportunity, and I believe that we discussed this when we were discussing the original plans for the Edgemere, for the redevelopment of it, but is there an opportunity to use pollinator-friendly seed mixes and native seed mixes when you're planting those basins?
I don't see why not, but we usually specify a wetland, New England wetland seed mix when doing those.
Okay, great.
We have, yep. So
All right, thank you. I'm all set, Bob.
Well, thank you, and thank you for taking the initiative there. I found out that you can push pound sticks all night long and it won't unmute it.
Star six.
Jason, any questions?
No questions at this time.
I have a question of Brad then. And Brad, will this affect any changes to the Edgemere permit order of conditions itself?
My opinion on that is no.
Okay. Are there any questions from the public, from any other participants on this call? If there are none, we'll close the hearing. Thank you.
thank you.
And moving on to the next item, Martha,
Mr.
25 Wall
Chairman?
Street.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Hi, this is
Yes.
David Sadowski. I've been having trouble reaching the site via my computer. I finally called in. I was supposed to represent the client for 7 Forest Avenue. I know I picked up at the very end when you went into this last hearing. I don't know if you want to wait till the end to revisit that or when you might be able to do that. I'm sorry.
Well, if you're ready to go, we'll go now.
All right, very good.
Okay.
Again, my name is Dave Sadowski. I'm the principal of DJ and Associates, and I'm working with my client is Mike Berdoni. We had been given a list of 22 comments by the conservation agent, Brad Stone. I put together a letter addressing all 22 points. We went from a 1-page plan to 5 pages so that they're 11 by 17 so that we can make it easier for everyone to see what was happening at the site. We actually went out and checked the roadway as was suggested to me to see where the actual travel way was. We had more room. We provided 3 parking spaces to go with the building, the proposed garage. And also we took where we had put the recharge system within the 25-foot buffer, we moved it outside of that. We reconfigured the stairs off the back of the building so they wouldn't be there's an old electric easement in the back. We made sure that nothing is in that easement now. We came down the side of the building. We showed sidewalks, utility connections, and the like. I know stuff wasn't submitted until yesterday to Mr. Stone, but there was a complete package that was sent out to Brad and also to DEP at the same time. Also, the building inspector from Westboro received the same package. I'm open for any questions.
Well, thank you, Mr. Sadowski, for that response. And as you mentioned, we have not had the opportunity to go through your considerable submittal, but I'll see if any of the members have any questions lingering from last month. Martha?
Sorry, I can't get unmuted. I have no questions at this time. It looks like the materials came in very late in the afternoon yesterday, so I don't think, I know I haven't had a chance to look at them.
Jason, any questions?
No questions. I did watch the video of last month's hearing, so I'm caught up on that piece. But similar to what Martha just stated, these came in late yesterday. I haven't had a chance to review them, and I don't think Brad's had a chance to review them. So I think we're going to need some time to digest all that.
Well, Mr. Sadowski, I appreciate your having responded, which I hope to be in a complete way. And I presume you're requesting a continuance to this hearing until our next meeting?
I'll say most likely next, but I think that the owner, Mr. Bedoni, is also on the line now. Maybe he should be the one. If he's not on, then I will be the one.
Okay. Mr.
This is
Bedoni?
this is Michael Perdoni. Yeah, I guess the packets got in too late, and I guess we'll have to wait until next month then.
Yeah. Well, okay. Hopefully, as we review it, if we need additional information, we'll be contacting you in advance of that meeting, so that hopefully by next month, all of this will be able to be resolved.
All right, thank you.
That would be great if that could happen.
Okay. And Brad, what is the date of that next meeting?
December 15th.
15th. Okay, so this will be continued until December 15th. Thank you, gentlemen.
My daughter's birthday.
Oh, great. Great.
Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Mr. Chairman, is there anyone from the public that may have been listening in that wanted to maybe comment?
Well, you're right. I should have asked. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make comment with regard to this petition on
7 Forest Avenue.
7 Forest Ave? Okay, so we're on till next month. Thank you, Mrs. Zadowski.
Thank you very much.
Now from the Shrewsbury Trails Commission, Martha.
Okay, notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Shrewsbury Trails Committee, Martha Millett is Secretary, 36 Westwood Road, Shrewsbury, has filed a request for determination of applicability for the construction of a replacement pedestrian bridge at 25 Gulf Street. A public meeting will be held on the above request at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, November 17, 2020.
Is there someone from the Shrewsbury Trails Committee to present this?
Yes, this is Martha Milletta.
Okay.
I prepared the request for determination of applicability, and I believe that Rick Gill, also a member of the Shrewsbury Trails Committee, is present.
Yes,
Although
I am.
Rick, you're there?
I am. Yep.
Okay, great. So do I assume that the commission has seen the materials that we submitted, the application and then the supporting materials?
Yes. It's been posted on the drive.
Okay. So should I just sort of quickly review?
Yes, you should, because the public may not have seen all the materials.
Okay. Shall I just go ahead and read what is in the application?
No, you should summarize it.
Okay. This is, an application. 25 Gulf Street is Carlstrom Forest, which is a wooded property that abuts Shrewsbury Townland. And the Carlstrom Forest is owned and managed by the New England Forestry Foundation. It's a popular passive recreation area for natural terrain, hiking and walking. And the Shrewsbury Trails Committee maintains and has developed trails in the Carlstrom Forest. There is one seasonal stream that currently has a 10-year-old log bridge that permits foot crossing of this stream area. And the bridge is now in very unsafe condition. In fact, Trails Committee has had recently a few people who were using the property and contacted us being concerned about the condition of the bridge. And the Trails Committee has been concerned as well. so we're proposing to replace this old log bridge with a simple construction. We took as an example bridges that are currently present on the Mill Pond trails in Westboro. And we've presented pictures of that trail and then specific plans that Rick Gill developed for our proposed replacement bridge. Is there anything else that I can?
No, I think that's a good summary. Thank you very much. Mr. Gill, would you like to add anything?
No, Martha, thank you for doing that. Yeah, the design is really just a recreation of what Westboro has.
Yeah. On to questions. Martha?
I have no questions.
Jason?
No questions, and just a thank you for fixing the bridge.
I agree, and I have no questions. Brad, any comments on this?
I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Are there any comments from the public with regards to this petition?
Bob, you left off Ken.
Ken, hi Ken.
All set.
Ken, any questions? You're all set. Thanks, Ken. Are there any kind of questions or comments from the public with regards to this petition? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Make a motion, we issue a negative determination.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor by roll call vote. Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And I for myself. Thank you for this, and you're all set. The negative
Okay.
determination means that no further action is required.
Great. Other than proceeding with the construction, which Rick
That-
Gill and
that's it.
any volunteers will be involved in. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Well, thank you for doing this. Moving on to 274 Holden Street, Martha.
274 or 160? Oh, no, 274, you're right. Okay.
Right.
Have to get there.
That's all right.
Okay. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that 160 Holden Street LLC, 133 Pearl Street, Boston, Mass. 02110, has filed an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for wetlands resources at 274 to 378 Holden Street. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, November 17, 2020.
And who's representing 160 Holden Street LLC?
Good evening. I'm Rich Kirby from LEC Environmental. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
You
Yes,
can proceed.
we had delineated the wetland resource area boundaries at the site in September of this year. And the property measures roughly 68 acres and is located in the northwest corner of town. In fact, the northern property boundaries also function as the Boylston and West Boylston town boundaries, and the Worcester city boundary is located southwest of the site across Holden Street. The property is located along the northeastern edge of Holden Street, west of Route 70. We have some residential development occurring just to the east of the site, houses that occur off side streets extending off 70. And there's a FedEx shipping center located to the north and northwest of the site. We delineated resource area boundaries again in September of this year. The property is primarily forested. There's a bordering vegetated wetland within the northwest corner. Brad, I don't know if you want to share your screen and show the plan. Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks. So you can see in the upper right, northeast up on the plan, there's a bordering vegetated wetland that we delineated There is some internal channelization within the BVW, although it is pretty much what you see right there, and we have the 100-foot buffer zone. In the southwest corner of the site, which is really the western property boundary there, right where the western property boundary meets Holden Street, there is an intermittent stream shown as intermittent on the USGS map that occurs just off site and then flows onto the site and into a culvert beneath Holden Street. We use the USGS Stream Stats program to confirm the intermittent nature of the stream. The watershed area is much less than the 0.5 square miles. I think it's 0.18 square miles. And the 99% flow duration is less than 0.01 cubic feet per second. All this is outlined in the ANRAD application with attachments. The last site feature of note is a stormwater gully that occurs through the central portion of the property. We evaluated this for jurisdiction because it appears to carry surface water from the site toward Holden Street after pretty significant rain events. But in order for a stream channel to be jurisdictional, it needs to flow from or through a bordering vegetated wetland. And we've looked at the channel and areas adjacent up and down on 2 occasions, looking for wetland soils, wetland plants. Essentially, the plant community along the channel is mixed. Plant community, in other places you do not. But in no circumstance did we observe any hydric soils along the channel, which tells us that it's really not a wetland. So we provided some data sheets at 5 points. You can see those in red dots along the stormwater gully, as we call it, to document the soils and vegetation at those points. And we picked the low flat areas because those would be areas where the water would slow down. You'd expect to see some hydrology in those low flat areas. So we were trying to present the data for the worst case scenario, if you will. And those data sheets were included in the ANRAD application. So at no time did we find any wetland soils, which would create a wetland, which would make the stream jurisdictional. So that's a lot of information. I know we did include some site photographs in the ANRAD as well. And I turn it over to the chair for any questions or comments from the commission.
Thank you for that, Mr. Kirby. And any questions, Martha?
I have no questions.
Jason?
No questions.
Mr. Polito?
No questions.
And I'm going to ask Brad to comment on this application. Brad?
Sure, I did look at this a couple of weeks ago in the field for the commission. For the most part, I do agree that speaking regarding that middle channel, a lot of that does look like it's not a wetland and wouldn't be classified as a stream. There were some areas that I did question, although I can certainly see the argument going in either direction for it. At the end of the day, I think that it would be best if the commission got somebody with a little bit more expertise than me on this particular one and have a peer review consultant look at it. And the one question I did have while Mr. Kirby's here is, for some reason, the upper portion of that stormwater ditch, as you described it, it's got blue flags on either side of that channel near the northerly section of the site. Do you know why those are there by any chance?
I do not. Well, there are a number of, well, let me back up for a moment. Portions of the site are also within priority habitat for rare species. And so we have been working with Natural Heritage to determine if any preferred habitat occurs on the property. And so we've been delineating some preferred habitat and some transitional habitat on the property with flagging that is being picked up by the survey. Has nothing to do with the ANRAD. We're doing our due diligence to see, the extent to which the site may be developable. But those may be the flags that you saw. The other thing that I would say is that the data plots that we did, the 5 data plots along the stormwater gully, were marked with blue flagging. So I'm not sure maybe if that's what you were saying, because we did do one toward the top of the site near the property boundary. So it could have been either of those.
So my recollection is I saw a number of blue flags, quite a few on either side of the channel near the northerly section of the site. I thought the data plots, I've got pictures, but not really available, but I thought those were actually pink flags. So I know I found all or maybe all but one, but I think I saw all of them when I was out there, and I was able to look at the soils right around those particular plots that you did. So I know where those are. Yeah.
Okay. That's something, I guess, if we're going to have a peer review, maybe we can take a look at that when we get back out to the site.
Okay.
And we can confirm what those are, because our wildlife scientist is the one that flagged the preferred and transitional habitat that I was speaking of earlier. So I haven't seen the site with all of those flags in place. So I'm speculating that it may be that. I don't know though.
Gotcha. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and I too would agree with your recommendation of a peer review. This is fairly common request on our part on parcels of this scope. So if you're willing to do that, Mr. Kirby, would like to proceed on those terms.
Sure, we think that makes sense. Have you had a chance to reach out to anybody, Brad?
I had some brief conversations with the consultant regarding this, so I should be able to get an estimate prepared for you pretty soon.
Okay, great.
All right. So we will continue this until the next meeting and hopefully resolve it then.
Yes, December 15th, you said?
15th.
Got it. All right. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby.
All right.
Moving on to 20 Whitney Street, Martha.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of general laws, chapter 131, section 40, that Anthony and Noreen Biseglia, 20 Whitney Street, Shrewsbury, have filed a notice of intent for site grading at 20 Whitney Street. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, November 17, 2020.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Can you folks hear me?
Yes.
Terrific. Mr. Chairman, Wayne Bellick, Land Design Collaborative, here on behalf of the Bisiglias for the project. It's good seeing you folks again. I haven't seen you for a little while. I know there's some members of the commission that may recall me from previous life at a previous firm on earlier projects several years ago. So it's good seeing everybody again. Nice to see everybody healthy. I'm here, like I said, on behalf of the client for a subject property located on 20 Whitney Street. It's a 0.3 acre lot located on the easterly side of the street. The property is currently zoned within the residential district, with a small portion of the property being in the commercial business. It contains a single-family house and associated improvements, including a driveway, shed, vegetable garden, and lawn area. An intermittent channel contained within a drainage easement for the benefit of the town of Shrewsbury runs along the southwesterly property of the site, conveying stormwater from the town of Shrewsbury stormwater collection system to a larger down gradient BBW system. The intermittent channel emanates from a wall containing a 24-inch and an 8-inch culvert flowing south until it enters the property or exits the property in the southern corner. Narrow area of vegetated wetland associated with the intermittent stream channel is on site, and elements of the wetlands have been field verified by the Northeast Ecological Survey in August 7th of 2020 and located by Instrument Survey. The vegetation that they found out on the site, the delineator was Scott Hine from Northeast Ecological, and basically what he found in the resource area was spotted jewelweed, purple loosestrife, lady's thumb, and sedges. We had been contacted by Mrs. Bisiglia in the summer of this year as a result of some flooding issues that she's had on her property. Brad, would you guys happen to have a copy of the plan you can throw up on the screen? Thank you, much appreciated. So as you can see from the plan, north being straight up the sheet, the east area and the easement to which I referred to earlier is toward the west side of the lot, the right front corner of the lot, the west side of the lot. What we're proposing is to regrade that area as Mrs. Basigli and her husband are in their senior years, and the slope in that area is just becoming a little too difficult to negotiate for her husband. The other reason is that, you know, with the ponding water that comes up onto the site, it just limits the use of their yard. When I had gone out there this past summer, I spoke with Mrs. Basigli about the amount of water that she received on her lot and how much it surcharged. She indicated to me that the problem had occurred roughly 10 years ago when a down gradient abutter by the name of Joe LaJoy, who lived there at number 16 Whitney, had a culvert that had collapsed. It could have been an old CMP culvert. The culvert had collapsed, and he replaced it with what she and one of the neighbors believe was a smaller culvert, the 24-inch RPP. It's been since that time that she feels that that has served as a restriction on the property, ponding water back onto the lot. We, again, I'm going by anecdotal evidence or information. We know nothing of the past history of the property. We do understand that from her and in speaking with the town that there was not a filing at that time, and there was a little bit of a tension between that particular abutter and the town. The owner has since moved. The culvert is still there. Again, this is a situation where she's got water ponding on her property. As I said to her, it's unfortunately, this is what you have. We looked at it. She indicated to me, as did one of the neighbors, that when this area ponds, I did provide Brad with some photos. And typically, and what the photos indicate, if you look at the right front corner of the lot, or the westerlymost portion, you'll see a utility pole out in the street. It has a guide wire and an anchor. In one of the photos I presented to Brad, it showed that the area had ponded up to that location. That elevation is roughly about a 399. I spoke with Brad earlier today, and typical of Brad, pretty thorough, and I appreciate it. But Brad had indicated that he felt that the area that we are proposing fill also falls, as we presented in the notice of intent, in the filing, we were not altering BVW. Brad had indicated that he thought that perhaps we were altering bordering land subject to flooding. So in looking at the site, as the commission knows, bordering land subject to flooding is typically an area of a 100-year flood. The other criteria is if there's information in evidence that the area has surcharged and ponded, that could be used as well as bordering land subject to flooding. And speaking with Brad earlier today, he was aware that there was a flooding situation in the area. I did speak with Andy Truman at one point about this as well, and he was aware that there was a ponding situation in the area. In speaking with Mrs. Basiglia, I had asked her today, how high did the area pond in the absolute worst case situation? She indicated to me, which was consistent with what she told me this past summer, was that the area had ponded so it came up over the road. So in doing so, she also indicated, as you can see toward the right rear corner of her lot within that easement, she's got an existing garden. It's a vegetable garden. She indicated to me that when the area does surcharge, it basically takes soil from her property and takes it downstream. She believes that, and with, you know, in the case of the vegetable garden, that you can easily see how that would happen. She also indicated that some of the topsoil in the lawn area has washed away as well, lowering the grade in that area. Again, not having the benefit of a topographic survey of some 15 years ago or so, you know, I'm just going based on her testimony as to what she's experienced out there. So back to the bordering land subject to flooding, I looked into Brad's thoughts that perhaps we were doing work within the bordering land subject to flooding. Based on the information that my client indicated to me, the elevation that the area ponds to, if you recall, I indicated that during the area's times of heavy rainfall, it ponds to the base of the guy wire at elevation 399. During these real heavy rainfalls where she gets total flooding and it tops the road, that comes up to about elevation 400. Now, elevation 400 is consistent with the top of wall, she told me, at the head wall as it enters onto the property, the road elevation, and that planter. So, or the garden. So we at LDC are looking at this in terms of the bordering land subject to flooding is coming up to elevation 400. With that said, if you look at the plan we proposed, we are filling the bordering land subject to flooding. As the commission knows, once you do that, you need to compensate elsewhere. So with that, what we're looking to do is to revise that grading. We'd like to get thoughts from the commission based on what we're seeing as bordering land subject to flooding, in order that we can take that grading, pull that back out as not to alter any resource areas whatsoever on the property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Martha, any questions or comments? Did you say yes? Did you nod yes or no, Martha?
I nodded no. At this time, I'm set. I'm still thinking
Okay.
about it.
All right, and Jason?
No questions at this time.
And Ken Polito?
I'll wait to see what Brad has to say.
Yeah. And so I guess we'll go to Brad. What do you think, Brad?
1 second, I'm just gonna share a screen here.
Let me just say something from my perspective, Wayne. It seems like what they're trying to do here seems fairly straightforward and pretty simple. And we'd like to support it, but I think it is important to stay out of the resource area and to pull that back, that 400 contour back.
Absolutely agree.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Brad?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I pulled up a photo that I took last week, kind of through the middle of it, where you see the heavy leaf litter. That's actually the stream right in through there. You can see like a pink wetland flag towards the front. In the lawn, actually that's my auger standing up there, and then to the right of that is an orange flag. So there's some other wetland flags there as well. So couple things. Looking at the stream, knowing the history, I'd been out there many years ago when the town redid Whitney Street and ultimately took all, or I think a portion of it actually, as a public road. So I know that there's been the history of water concerns in that area. I don't think any of that is new. When you look at our old assessor maps that show the wetlands in that area, there was a pretty large swamp through here, and a good portion of that has been filled in historically. You're kind of left with this channel in this area. Getting back to the delineation, and I poked around the lawn area and I found what I thought was actually hydric soils in there. It was tough to get through it. I think, you know, a lot of it's fill, so it's not the easiest eval, but you can see high and low chroma models once you start taking a close look at it. I did ask for the field data sheets, which Mr. Bell provided to me today. I did a quick look through it. I saw comments about the vegetative community. I don't know if there's additional soil plots in there yet. I haven't had a time to go through it in detail. But intuitively, you know, you look at that stream channel, you look at this photo, you look to the left of that, you know, elevation wise, there really isn't much of a change. You know, going out there, you would think that you'd find probably similar soils when you auger in each area. And knowing the history, knowing that you have some flood in there, you know, the BVW actually may expand a little bit. So I want to look a little bit closer at that. I'm not suggesting we need a peer review consultant for this, but maybe perhaps with the wetland scientist that did this in Ion Site, just taking another peek at it. And, you know, from looking at the plan and listening to Mr. Bellick discuss that 400 contour, that, if I recall, it didn't go past the garden, but it kind of went somewhere in this area. And that makes sense to me by eye. If I'm envisioning where the extent of that water is on average anyway, when you get heavier events, it's out into this area just based on the topography. And then once you get out here, it does start to go up. It's a little bit deceiving from this photo. There's a little bit more of an incline as you move towards the house and what this photo shows. I have others that might show it, but there's definitely an area there that at a minimum it does qualify, in my opinion, as, you know, bordering land subject to flooding, and it may even actually be resource area. You know, you can't really look too much at or rely too much on the vegetative community when it's, you know, maintained as a mowed lawn area. You got to pay closer attention to the soils at that point.
Okay, thank you, Brad. So what I'm gathering here is that Mr. Bellick, it would make sense to meet out there with Brad, right, Wayne? And maybe with your resource person. And if you do that fairly soon here, we'll be able to hopefully resolve this at the next meeting on December 15th.
That'd be great, Mr. Chairman. So I think, so if I heard correctly, Brad, I really couldn't see the cursor. It sounds like where you were pointing in terms of where the area had ponded up, or you believe the area had ponded up. It wasn't up beyond the garden, but probably through its midway point, up that plant bed.
So what I was pointing out was that your 400 contour was right up about that midway point, roughly. Yeah. Do you know when those photos were taken that you supplied to us?
I don't, but I could find out and I can get that. They were at various times of the year. A couple of them look like they were either in late spring or early fall, and certainly there were a couple with snow on the ground, so may have been during times of frozen conditions. But I will find that out and I'll get that information for you.
Okay.
Okay, you'll set up that meeting, Wayne?
I will. I will
Okay.
coordinate Brad and the wetland consultant, and we'll go out there, Mr. Chairman.
I don't think there's anyone else on, but is there anyone in the public who cares to comment on this petition? Hearing none, I presume you're asking for a continuance, Wayne?
Oh, certainly.
Thank you. Till December 15th.
Thank you, folks. You have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you. Great seeing everybody again. Stay healthy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next one, which is an RDA for 7 Adams Road.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of general laws, chapter 131, section 40, that Sumit Mukhopadhyay, 7 Adams Road, Shrewsbury, has filed a request for determination of applicability for the construction of deck and stone patio at 7 Adams Road. A public meeting will be held on the above request at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, November 17, 2020.
And is there someone here to present for 7 Adams Road?
Yes, this is Jake Zibkowski from ZB Construction. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
So yes, we've been contracted by the homeowner at 7 Adams Road to construct a 4 seasons enclosed addition, as well as reconstruct his existing deck. So the footprint of this structure is not going to change. The footprint is 12 feet off the house, and the length is 21 feet. And we're going to be enclosing an area that's 12 feet by 16 feet, and then we're rebuilding the deck area that is 5 by 12. And we're going to rebuild the stairs as well. So it's going to be reconstructed and going to be contained and heated. And instead of reusing the posts out of there, we're going to be putting in helical piles for construction. And that's pretty much it. We're through the permit process, and that's where our last stop. So here we are.
Okay, well, let me just start by saying, are you aware that there's an outstanding certificate, there's outstanding order of conditions that has not received a certificate of compliance for this property?
That I did not know.
I'm correct in that, saying that, right, Brad? Brad? Oh,
Yes, that's correct.
okay, all right. So, so the question here is, do we act on this request for determination prior to someone asking for a certificate of compliance for an original order of conditions that was issued? What is the date of that order of conditions, Brad? Do you have it there?
Hold on one second. Okay, no, I don't have the date.
Okay.
My recollection, it was the early 2000s, so it's pretty
Okay.
old.
Yeah, all right. So, and Brad, just in terms of process here, we could do both, right? We could, if we chose, we could do a negative determination and with a condition upon their applying for a certificate of compliance.
You could certainly do that. There's nothing that would prohibit you from making this decision tonight absent of the certificate. I would encourage the property owner to follow up with it anyway, just because they want to clear up the title at some point regardless.
Yeah, of course.
But I looked at this, to give the commission some comfort, I looked at this pretty closely. I went out to the field Friday, went through the files. There was, correspondence from way back that I had written to actually the current homeowner that I forgot was there. So looking at the plans, looking at the history, I don't think that there's really anything out of compliance other than the walls that were proposed are bigger than the walls that exist are bigger than what was proposed. But I don't think there's been, any wetland encroachment or anything like that. If there has been, it's very, very minimal and not something that, we would catch by eye or anything. Usually we find bigger things. So it's, it either meets the plan other than the wall height, or there is, very, very minor loss. But I don't see anything to be concerned about.
Okay, well, let's proceed with some questions then, if you have any. Martha?
I was looking at the document that's in the drive. It looks like the certificate of compliance may be for the construction of the original deck. That would be a question for Brad, I think.
There's a certificate in the drive?
No, there isn't, but there's a diagram that looks like it's indicating an original deck, and the diagram is dated, looks like 2001. So I'm wondering if the certificate of compliance has to do with the construction of that original deck.
Oh, okay. Good. I'm glad you picked up on the date. That's what I was looking for, Martha. So that particular plan date would confirm that, yeah, it was the early 2000s. It was probably right around 2001 that it got permitted. And there's been a little bit more work deck-wise than what was shown on the approval that exists there as well. But nothing that's encroached into the wetland. Those walls that were on this particular plan, originally it came through for the house construction, and then this most recent order from 2001 roughly was because they were revising the grading back there. So they showed a 3 to 4 foot high wall and a 2 to 3 foot high wall. And what you have is you have actually, something that's, there's at least 4 feet on one, 5 feet on another. And so you add the foot into that, and you're looking at 5 or 6 feet total for retaining walls. So the walls are bigger than what's shown, but they're roughly in the location shown on the plan. But that deck highlighted in yellow does exist, and I probably have some pictures of it too. Let me just pull that up as well. So that shows the area that would be worked on.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. And Jason?
No questions.
Ken?
All set.
Are there any questions from the public? Hearing none, we should entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we issue a negative determination with the.
Is there a second?
Do you want to put a condition on that they obtain a certificate of compliance for the old order?
Yes, I do. Yeah. Is there a second to that?
Second.
I do. Okay, thank you. And we'll take a vote. Martha?
Aye.
Jason Ford?
Aye.
Ken Polito?
Aye.
I vote aye. And I think we're done, Jake.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and I will advise the homeowner of the outstanding certificate of compliance as well.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night to you. The next RDA is regarding 54 Sewell Street.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with provisions of general laws, chapter 131. Oh, wait a minute, not there yet, in the wrong place.
Still the same chapter.
Yeah, I know. It's still the same chapter, the same section, everything. It's just the wrong address. So let me get to that. Here we go. Notice is hereby given in accordance with provisions of general laws, chapter 131, section 40, that Lewis Roberts and Scarlett Shell, 54 Sewell Street, Shrewsbury, have filed a request for determination of applicability for the removal of a tree at 54 Sewell Street. A public hearing will be held on the above request at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, November 7, 2020.
Is there someone representing Louis Roberts and Scarlett Shell? Brad, could you describe this project for us?
Hi, actually, no, I am here. Sorry, I was a little slow to the
all right.
trigger. So I'm Lou. Hi, everybody. Thank you for your time.
Okay, all right. Would you tell us what you want to do? Summarize what you'd like to do here?
Sure, of course. So we purchased the property back in July. We are on the shore of Newton Pond. And there is a tree that has sort of large chunks. I think I sent some pictures to Brad on this, where there are chunks of the tree missing. The tree is damaged, and it's been pinned together with some sort of metal brace. There's like a metal rod running through the tree. We've had 2 arborists out. And both have said, yes, the tree has, is falling, has limited lifespan. And it is, of course, well within the 100 foot radius of water and wetlands. The tree is, you'll see, I think, in one of the pictures, if I have a pullout from it. Near the shore, we have 5 children, 3 of them young and small. We were concerned about the safety of the tree falling, and we were really just applying to see if it would be possible to remove the tree and then replace with any species as you wish that might attract native pollinators. We did pollinators. We consulted with 2 arborists on this, and they gave us some good feedback on what we could do to sort of mitigate the situation, provided the tree, if you do agree the tree to be removed.
Thank you, Louis. Do you have any questions or comments, Mrs. Gosh?
Thank you, Bob. Are they recommending that the entire tree come down, or that you just cut part of it, or what are their recommendations?
Yeah, good question. The tree, the way it has split, so there's 2 main parts of it. Both sides are damaged of it, or both damaged of it. So they just recommended pulling it out completely, like cutting it down completely.
Would you have the trunk removed as well?
That's a great question. Obviously, we would seek your guidance in that process. I don't know what the expectation normally is. I mean, we do sort of like we love the natural feel of our property. It's why we bought it. And we're fine with, really, we just wanted to make sure that whatever we're doing, of course, goes through your approval and is really what your recommendation also is on top of, what the law.
And then one last question is, it looks like it's a maple, some kind?
Yes.
Do you know what kind? Did they tell you what kind it was?
No, that's a great question.
Okay. The reason that I ask is that silver maples often will split like that, low at the trunk, and that's a natural form for them to take. I know some people get nervous about that, but that's just the way the tree grows. I don't know how far away the tree is from the lake. I don't see a problem with taking it down, but my recommendation as a biologist would be that if you are comfortable with leaving a portion of the trunk for the woodpeckers to come in and use, that could be a really fun thing for your kids to see and to watch. I know not everybody's comfortable doing that, but if that's something that fits with your view of what your lawn is, that would be my recommendation. And then you could plant another tree right next to it.
Oh, that actually is right up our alley. That's a great idea. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Actually, we're both biologists as well. We're both at WPI and biologists. So yeah, that's one thing we want to do is we want to retain as much of the natural feel to the environment as possible. So we're very much into that. I'm glad you asked that question because I'll be honest, I hadn't really thought that through yet. And we absolutely would do that.
Okay. Thanks. That's all I have.
Thank you, Martha. Jason?
No questions.
Ken Polito?
All set.
I'm all set too. Brad, do you have any comments?
I'm all set.
And is there any member of the public that cares to comment on this petition? If not, a motion is in order.
Make the motion, we issue a negative determination.
Second, is there a second?
Second.
And all those in favor by roll call? Martha Gosh?
Yeah, aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And aye for me. So that's a negative determination, Louis, so you're good to go.
I will thank you all very much. And thanks to Brad also for guiding me through this process. It's completely new to me. And I really appreciate that. And thanks for all the hard work you're doing.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Martha, for that suggestion.
You're welcome. Take care.
Yep, you too.
Now, a new public hearing for Bayview Drive.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of general laws, chapter 131, section 40, that Waterview Realty Trust, P.O. Box 749, Boylston, Massachusetts, 01505, has filed a request for an amended order of conditions for retaining walls, grading, and stormwater system revisions at 5153 Bayview Drive. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, November 17, 2020.
Thank you, Martha. Is there someone to present for Bayview Drive?
Yeah, for the record, Bill Hannigan with Hannigan Engineering.
Okay, go ahead, Bill.
Brad, do you want to give me control of the screen, or do you want to bring up the documents?
Why don't you go ahead and present what you want to show?
Okay, so this product received approval from the commission for the construction of the. Let me just check. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so the approval was granted by the commission. We also received approval from the zoning board of appeals as well as approval from the planning board. Then as they got into the details of some of the construction, we went for a stormwater permit from the engineering department. They asked that we beef up the stormwater that we had proposed relative to the roof drain systems. We originally had just a dry well in this area. They asked us to try to meet the, I believe it's 0.8 inch capture rate, which required the installation of a total of 6 stormwater chambers. So that is an add in this area here. So that's one of the changes that we're outlining within the request for the amendment. The second change, mainly to the house structure itself, is the deck system got a little bigger. The decks got a little bit wider. I think they went from 14 to 16, and then they got longer, from 20 to 28. And on the original plan, there were stairs going down on the outsides. And what they've done is they've decided, since the lower level has glass, they wanted to try to allow as much viewing from the lower level of each of the units. So they basically took the deck's stair system and put it in between the two buildings. So I'll go back to this was what was originally approved. I can zoom in on that a little bit. This approval was actually after we had the chambers. So the decks had stairwell systems going around, where currently what they have is, what's currently proposed is the system internal to the cubbyhole, if you will, of the site. So the really is regarding the retaining wall system. When the construction started on the retaining wall system, or the design of it from the structural engineer, the red is what was approved by both planning and conservation, and the blue underneath it is what we're requesting the change be made. And part of the reason was the stair system that was being developed was getting very complicated from a structural perspective, was becoming very expensive. And the second part of it was the geogrid requirements for this upper retaining wall basically were being forced into the structure of the deck. So there was some conflict with the deck, and there was concerns with that structure happening. So the blue is what we've changed the design to, with a stair system that goes on the face of the wall versus integrated into the wall. And that is shown, at least the highlighted version is shown on this set right here. So by doing it this way, we basically end up building one wall instead of multiple walls. The wall does raise up in elevation by 1 course, but we are able to put the stair system in. We're proposing to use helical piles versus excavating, and that's mainly because of the depth of groundwater would make it difficult to actually pour footings or even to dig and place footings. So bringing a small Bobcat-sized machine, track machine in and having that basically set the footings for the stair system. It'd be more or less like the same wooden deck system that you would build stairwell here would be built over here. It's anticipated this would be finished off with a Trex type of deck system for long-term exposure to weather. But that really is the biggest change really is regarding the wall system. We did push the erosion control out a little bit just to allow for more room of construction. But this really is about where the existing lawn is right now. So it doesn't require the removal of any additional vegetation on this lower level at all. This basically the clearing can commence and not affect the tree cutting in here. The landscaping's been shifted around. The landscaping on top of the wall is the same, but just once again shifted around. The previous location might not be shown on the plans. Oops. Sorry about that. But the previous location there was some in here, there was some in this area here, and there was some above. So what we ended up going with was basically just focusing on adding the landscaping in here. So those are basically the changes. The letter outlines what those changes were. We feel that this is a de minimis change to the project, but under the circumstances where we're getting all the other permits up to date, in talking with Brad, we received notice from him that he felt this needed to be brought back to the commission just to kind of make this the plan of record for the project, which is what our intention is.
Thank you, sir. Just for my own sake, I want to just pick up on what you last said. I know we all have our opinions, but in my opinion, this is far from a de minimis change. But with that said, we'll go to questions. And Martha, do you have any questions or comments with regards to this?
Well, I am concerned about the proximity to the shore, but my question is, I'd like to hear you justify the increased sizes of the decks.
Mr. Hannigan?
Yeah, that's really more of a homeowner preference for that. I think they're just looking for more room on the deck versus 10 by 20 or 20 by 12. The deck size, since they're going to be using it more, apparently that's really more their question, the question for them than for me.
Well, the reason that I'm asking is that I sort of see that as one of the reasons that's pushing everything closer to the lake. So I just wanted to explore that. So thank you.
Yep. So if we go back and you look at where everything was before, where the red is basically underneath the blue, that's really nothing's really moved forward of this area with the exception of the stair system right here. Okay. So the work between this wall and the building it's changed, but we're not bringing, I understand what you're saying. We're not doing additional work beyond this aside from the stair system, I guess would be my comment to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Port, any questions or comments?
Well, I'll make a couple comments. I too don't believe this is de minimis by any means. And to echo a bit of what Martha said, Bill, I do hear you saying that there's nothing, other than the new stairs happening on the other side of what appears now to be a new retaining wall. But there is now more work within the 30-foot buffer, right? I mean, because the deck is larger, the corner of the property, one of the units is still in the buffer zone. There's just more material now in the buffer zone. I think I said this when you were originally before us. I still have great concern about the wall being so close to the shoreline. But I think that's it. I think those are my comments. But I don't believe this is de minimis. I think this is
let me just say one thing about the word de minimis. The reason I used the word de minimis was because that's in my head, because that's what the planning board went through.
Yeah.
Their aspect of things is different than yours. I get it. So I apologize for using the word de minimis. I don't disagree that this is more than just, it's a series of changes that make it way more than de minimis. And they have a process they call a de minimis change. So that is in my head, and I apologize for that.
Bill, and there's no need for the apology. I definitely get the lingo, as you just admitted, right? I mean, this is a lot more work and changes than a simple site change or a field change, right? I mean, this is, the wall is different, the decks are different, the landscaping's different. I mean, this is
if I may, I think that the biggest thing to look at, in my opinion, and it's not up to me to decide, okay, is that what we didn't do was bring the construction any closer, okay? We kept the line of the wall essentially where it was. And what we tried to do was make it so that the excavation that was going to be required for this basically went away. We don't have to dig all this out like we thought we were going to have to. So it's actually simplified the construction of this retaining wall. The difference is that the biggest difference from getting closer to the shore is the construction of the stair system, which basically allows us to not have to do the significant excavation in this area here. So there's kind of a balance to it. That's what I'm trying to work with. And once again, this area here is more of a lawn area now, anyways. So it's going to be returned to what it is right now once we're done. But I believe this is, quite frankly, my opinion is that this is a better design than the original one, and requires less excavation to actually build it. And it allows us to build the decks. And I mean, if I know that the owners are on the call as well. So maybe we can talk to them about that. If there's something that we can do relative to that, is definitely an improvement over the previous design.
I am. I'm all set.
Yep. Ken, any questions, comments?
Yes, you know, with creating one 10-foot high wall, you're creating a barrier to the lake. I was comfortable with the design as presented that we approved. I thought that was a fair design. It presented the order that we approved. It had a green area along the lake that wasn't really disturbed, and from some of the pictures that I've seen, it looks like that whole area is disturbed, and there's a lot of debris down there now. So, you know, I was good with what was presented before and what we approved. I thought that worked, and I would be fine if you went back to what we approved. That's it.
Okay. Is that it, Ken?
Yep.
Okay. It's my turn now. So following up on Ken's comments, there are reasons we don't like 10-foot walls. And there are reasons that we ask petitioners to stage these walls with a green space in between. And this defeats all of that intention. We also have a fairly strong commitment to a 30-foot setback from the resource area. Now, we compromised on the original plan here when it was 27 feet. But it seems to me that going to 17 or 18 feet is a bridge too far. And by doubling the size of the decks, I think that's in fact what has created this problem. Because I'm not personally persuaded that the geotechnical issues with regards to the deck footings can't be overcome technically. So I would agree with Ken. We approved the original plan. I'm opposed to the doubling of the deck and to the creation of a 10-foot obstacle at the lake shore. And I guess I'm going to ask Brad for your comments, if any.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would echo a lot of what the commission's already discussed in terms of concerns. But I do want to just bring up a photo real quick.
Oh, do I have to kick back to you, Brad, or?
I should be able to override you. If I can't, I'll ask for your help,
I
Bill.
just hit stop share, so.
So I happened to stop by the site when I was out there late last week. I think it was Friday. I was in the area doing a number of inspections. I mainly wanted to see what the site looked like in terms of erosion control in advance of the meeting. I didn't have the plan set on me, or I would have taken some measurements when I was there, because I was not expecting to see the wall that's being proposed tonight actually under construction. So in looking at the site in general, the erosion control, the disturbance that's been done, that's not per the plan that the commission's approved at this point. It goes above and beyond the limits that they've approved. As you can see, that erosion control barrier is pretty much right on the top of the bank. Look at the wetland flag immediately to the right of it in this particular photo. And, looking at the site and getting back to the office and then seeing the plans, I started getting concerned about whether or not that wall is in fact being constructed where it's proposed tonight even. Because when I scale the plan in those areas, I'm supposed to see 15 feet between, the maples, those large maples that were shown on the plan, as well as the erosion control barrier, which is in line with those. And at least by eye, when I look at that wall that's been started, the erosion control barrier, I don't see 15 feet there. You'd have to go out and measure to be sure, but it just something doesn't look right there to me. So I've got concerns similar to the commission. I'd personally rather see a terraced wall on site rather than, something large close to a lake like that. And I've got some concerns about the ongoing construction, having started this one already without the commission's approval. And if this in fact is even being constructed, in accordance with what they're proposing at this point as well.
Yeah, we would have to go out and locate this. I have not been out to the site, so we would have to go out and locate that information to be able to find out where that is relative to the plans.
Back to me now, I should ask if there are any questions or comments from the public with regards to this petition.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, I have another question.
Yes.
I think we should at least make sure prior to any work done with the construction of this wall that it is in fact set to the plan that we approved. If there's a concern with the work being done now, that it not be set in the right position, that we're going to be in a mess, because it seems like if it's too close to the lake now, they didn't start off on the right foot. So that needs to be addressed before they go any further, the exact location of where the wall is going to be built.
You mentioned, Mr. Hannigan, that you were going to go out on the site?
I am now.
Okay. And would you be kind enough to notify Brad at that time, and you can go together?
Sounds good. I think under the circumstances, I don't know if Bob or Chuck are on the phone to chime in, but I think we should request a continuance to allow us to go out and find out what's going on, go walk the site with Brad, and come back to the commission with. I know they're going to want to redo the plan, redo the wall system some way, because the geotechnical part of it is a lot more complicated than I anticipated. And so I think that it sounds to me like we need to get to some sort of a happy medium where we're satisfying the commission's concern and getting the structural components set up to be able to be built in compliance with building codes. And we'll, if they're not on, I'll talk to them about the deck sizes and stuff like that to try to improve the plan above and beyond what we've already done. So we would request a continuance.
Okay, and that's fine, and that would be continued until December 15th. And hearing no other comments, thank you for attending, and we'll move on.
Thank you very much.
Uh, 154 South Consignment Avenue.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of general laws, chapter 131, section 40, that David Hafty, 154 South Quinsigamond Avenue, Shrewsbury, has filed a notice of intent to bring in loam and plant grass at 154 South Quinsigamond Avenue. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, November 17, 2020.
Mr. Hafty? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Chairman, there had been water that had run down, or we have mulch currently in the area that's colored in on the imagery. When it rains, the mulch, or at least water goes down the hill to the patio area. And we were looking to put grass in, both to make the area look nicer, but also to prevent the water from coming down the hill when it rains. It's looking to do it pretty simply, just to plant grass. We would put there are a couple of large trees there, and we wouldn't plant. Base grass could not grow where there are roots around the trees, so we'd put sort of a small, probably rocks, and then something with right next to the trees there. But it would be pretty basic to put the grass in. There wouldn't be digging up or releveling of land. It's really just putting grass.
I have just a couple of questions that start, Mr. Hafty, about how much of an area are you talking about here? Estimate.
It's probably the side that is, I'm looking at the imagery, it's probably the side that's down toward near 158 South Consignment Ave. It's probably 20 feet. And it's maybe 10 to 15 feet across.
Okay.
That may be, I have not measured it, or I don't know it off the top of my head. It's a rough guess.
Yep.
Okay.
And I can see in the pictures. Do you have any questions, Martha?
I don't have any questions. I have just a little bit of advice. I don't know what depth you're planning to bring in for loam, but you want to be careful not to smother the tree roots by piling the loam on too much over them, because that'll damage the health of the tree.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, where the trees are beautiful. Yeah, thank you.
Is that it, Martha? Jason?
No questions.
Ken?
The only thing I would suggest is that they do some sort of stabilization or netting of some sort to prevent the loam washing down the slope into the lake.
I would agree. Do you understand what he's saying, Mr. Hafty? Because of the slope, once you put the loam and the seed down, if you have a severe rainstorm, the loam will wash away just like the mulch has been washing away. So you can you have available, you can purchase at Home Depot or landscaping stores some fabric that you can put down over the loam to help reduce the erosion. Or you could even purchase some salt marsh hay to do that same thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, Ken? No? Okay. And I'm all set. How about you, Brad?
Just a few comments. So, and I appreciate Mr. Happy's patience with me on this particular one, because there is a bit of a grade on the lot, and there is the lake that's there that the commission and others are always concerned with. So at the end of the day, I looked at his particular lot and what he wants to do, and it's actually going to be a bit of an improvement. And where it was just really the conversion of the mulched area to a lawn area, I didn't see the need for him to go out and get an engineer to create a plan for this particular thing. We had some discussion about doing some additional things such as a riprap area and other things with the yard, at which point I think it would be important that we have better plans for. But in the general area of replacing the mulch and converting that into a vegetated lawn, I think that's fine. But because there isn't a plan, there isn't, an erosion control barrier shown, or things like the commission's suggesting tonight, such as, something else to stabilize with blanketing or other features. So there should be something that conditions that those things are in place. And in particularly, I just want to know, timing wise, I think there was a rush on the applicant to try to do something this year, but I think we're probably past that window to do anything at this point. You're looking more at the growing season next spring.
Yes, sir. My understanding was, we'd try probably in March. I'm told we missed we missed the growing season this year.
Okay.
And entirely reasonable to put in the things that you guys suggested to make sure that we do the project right and have it as part of that. It makes sense to me.
Okay, good. Any questions from members of the public or any comments? Hearing none, we'll close this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Happy.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Now we have a continued public hearing regarding notice of intent filed by Alex Isley to construct a pool within the deck at 14A Old Faith Road. Mr. Isley, are you here?
Scott Jordan is on from Ecotech, folks. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So this is a continued notice of intent hearing. If you recall, the project is essentially a deck replacement. Removal of an existing deck, installation of a new deck within the buffer zone. The new deck will have a sort of a fiberglass small pool inset within the deck. During our initial hearing, Brad had determined that the existing patio, in the buffer zone, had been installed a few years ago without a permit, and apparently the stone retaining wall at the edge of the lake had been reconstructed also without a permit. This happened prior to the current owner taking ownership of the property, which was a year ago, September. So the commission had asked us to revise the notice of intent application to include essentially after the fact permitting of the patio and the retaining wall. We did submit that revised document to Brad. Those items are shown on the plan, and we also submitted the additional fee for that patio and retaining wall.
Is that complete your presentation, Scott?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
That was where we left it at the initial hearing to get those items
Right.
in the record. They are on the plan, they're on the notice of intent, and they will be in the project file moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Martha, any questions or comments?
No.
Jason Port,
No, no questions.
Ken Polito?
No questions.
I have no questions. Brad, do you have any comments?
Other than, the applicant's representative and I, we did have some discussion about the wall in the lake, and I know Scott has looked at it. We looked at it a little bit together when we were on the phone with each other, and I spent extra time as well going through various aerial imagery and from different sites. So the wall that's on the water, it may have changed location slightly, but nothing that I would say is a significant encroachment into a resource area, for instance. So I'm not really that concerned there. There certainly was a lot of buffer zone work. In addition to the wall, there was a lot of buffer zone work that was done without the permit, as was mentioned. But I don't think that that's an impact to the resource area. So at the end of the day, I think that this particular revision would cover what's being proposed in the work that was done in recent years.
All right, thank you, Brad. Any member of the public have any comments with regards to this proposal? Hearing none, I think we're prepared to close this hearing.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, can I jump back
Yes.
in? Brad,
Please.
I'm not sure if you saw the plan that was sent over very late this afternoon. B&R survey prepared a plan, came over late this afternoon. I emailed it to you. The applicant has requested, and Brad should have that plan certainly in his inbox. If he can extend his an existing 6-foot PVC fence on the north side of the house, and currently it goes up right to the westerly end of the house. He would like to extend it 30-40 feet along that property line. We can certainly leave a 4-inch gap. I know that's commonly requested at the bottom for critter passage.
I think Brad's looking.
It's in my email from this afternoon, Scott.
Yeah, it came over real late, Brad.
I can probably pull that up. Just bear with me.
That's the only addition, Scott?
Yeah, just extending the fence. There's an existing fence there.
Yeah. Shouldn't be an issue.
Is this the plan here, Scott?
Oh, I've lost the screen. I've lost the screen. Does it show? I think the label was extend fence. It's the northerly property boundary. I'm sorry, I lost.
It says proposed new fence near the lake.
Yeah,
Yes.
that would be it.
Yeah.
Is that fence indicated on the old plans too?
Yes.
Is that the line with the circles in it? Okay.
Yeah. Squares. Yeah.
All right. Are we ready to close this hearing, ladies and gentlemen?
No, I have one more question. Where is the gap again, please?
Excuse me?
The critter gap, where would that be?
Well, what we generally propose, fencing is actually an exempt activity in the regs, buffer zone activity, as long as it doesn't provide a hindrance to wildlife passage. So we generally propose, a minimum 4-inch gap at the bottom of the fence. That way the rabbits.
Oh, okay.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, that's all.
So the fence is set up 4 inches from above the ground.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
that's the standard that is generally used.
Thank you. We need to do that more with solar fencing farms.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yep. All right, I guess then we'll close this hearing. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
That concludes our hearings for this evening. We'll move on to the orders of conditions. And I could use some motions, Ken? No, you can't make the first one.
No, I can't do the first one.
Jason, a motion on for the town of Shrewsbury roadway improvements to Harvard Turnpike.
Just grabbing it up. Mr. Chairman, I propose that we make a motion to or issue an order of conditions for the roadway improvements on Route 20 Hartford Turnpike submitted by the town of Shrewsbury. I don't think there were any additional conditions in that.
Second, Martha?
There was a suggestion that pollinator-friendly plantings seeding be used on the retention basins.
Correct. You're right, Martha.
Okay. With that exception, then
Yep. That'll be added as a condition.
okay.
And we'll take a roll call vote.
Did we get a second?
I thought you did.
Was that me?
I thought you had.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Ken?
I recuse myself.
Ken is has abstained from this, and I vote aye. Okay, now someone for 7 Adams Road. No, we did that one. I'm sorry. No, we did 7 Adams. We're looking at 154 South Quincy, Ken.
I make a motion, we issue an order of conditions for 154 South Consignment Ave with the conditions of erosion control blanket used to help stabilize the slope and the addition of some straw wattles at the bottom of the planting area.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'd like to add, Ken, that they not be restricted to a blanket, but some alternative or some other alternative erosion control measure. They may even choose to hydroseed it. No?
Fair enough.
Okay. So we'll go to a vote. Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And aye for myself.
Mr.
And
Chairman.
then the final, go ahead, Ken.
Chairman, I make a motion, we issue an order of condition at 14A Old Faith Road with the addition of the fence shown 4 inches above the existing ground.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
And all in favor? Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And aye. And we go to certificates of compliance, Brad.
Okay, we have a number of certificates on here. The first 2 are carryovers from previous meetings, 38 Brooklawn Parkway, as well as Lot 3 South Street. I have no new information for the commission on those 2, so I would suggest not issuing those at this time. The ones for 38A Old Colony Drive, 64 Cherry Street, 68 Cherry Street, 127 North Street, and 1015 Main Street, I'm okay with and would recommend that the commission issue all of those.
Okay. And is there any objection to issuing those? Should we take a vote for those as noted? Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And myself, aye. And for those who might still be on, what happens here is Brad will let us know when these are available for signature. We'll go in and do it. Any other business anyone wants to bring up? Motion, Ken?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And I myself. See you on December 15th. Thank you.
Aye.
Good night,
Thank you,
everybody.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.